Likkutei Torah, Acharei, page Chavav, second column, is Gimel. Okay, so the Alter Rebbe was explaining that the fuel to keep Hashem in the world is the three pillars, Torah, Avodah, Gemilut, Chesadim, which is Bria, Yetzirah, and Asiyah, which is thought, speech, and action, and each discussing each one. So he said in the Likkutei, says Bir HaKos, to understand an additional explanation what it says Hashem that Hashem is a consuming fire. Torah Lahaska needs to be mentioned like this: Shein Shem Eish Ein and Dipes V'Nachze Hated B'Psila Be'etzim Lo Hayir Al Haaretz. The only way a fire is grasping onto the wick or the fuel, the wood, Kim Shu Eish Eichla, only when it's consuming. In other words, in order for a fire to really grasp onto the objects, it needs to be the consuming fire that burns it up. It eats up, it consumes what it's holding on to. Therefore, the wick or the fuel has to be possible to be consumed. That's why Moshe Rabbeinu, when he saw the burning bush, he saw a fire burning and nothing getting consumed. So that wasn't a normal thing. Normally, when you have a fire burning, it consumes what it's on. So the same thing, and now we're saying that Hashem is like a fire that consumes. That means just like a fire needs to consume, the fuel needs to be a keli for the fire. The same way Hashem doesn't hold on to the person with one of the three things that he said before. Now, in other words, like this: in order for Torah, Avodah, Gemilut, Chesadim to be the fuel that keeps Hashem here, it has to be consuming, meaning it has to be the level of bittul. Because one spirit brings down another spirit. In other words, in order for Torah, Avodah, Gemilut, Chesadim to function, there has to be consumption. Meaning, you allow it to get burnt in the fire from above, which is a level of bittul. That means learning has to be done with bittul. Torah has to, Avodah, Gemilut, Chesadim. The fact that
it doesn't burn like the bush didn't because it was not bitter.
Right.
It couldn't be bitter.
Right.
It was like
correct. But then, on the contrary, the Medrash says, why did Hashem reveal himself in a thorn bush? Because thorns have bittul. There's no fruit. The tree can brag, I have luscious fruit. It's a thorn bush. So that, like it says, Hashem says, I'm with you in the level of your problems. What?
Chassidus oftentimes quotes this pasuk,
It's not a pasuk. No, it's a zayir.
So does it mean like mitzvah gorer mitzvah? It's like something like that, or does it mean like?
Isarusa de Lasata awakens Isarusa de Leila. That's what it means. Lochein toli am shachas eravaya. Aydei Torah means be Yisrael. It has to dafka be Torah mitzvahs by a yid. In other words, like this: if a guy will do Torah Avodah Gemilut Chesadim, it's not going to be a keli telukus. It's not going to be the fuel to keep Hashem in the world, because they don't have a neshama which has the ability to be bottled. He says, "Commissioner calls Vayokim Eidas B'Yaakov, V'Seder Sham B'Yisrael." He says two things. Mitzvahs were given to Yaakov and Torah be Yisrael. What does that mean? Ki Yaakov Yisrael l'mechinas hiskafya v'ishapcha. Yaakov is the level of hiskafya. Ki sarisim elakim, you fought elokus and you won. And Yisrael represents the higher level of transformation.
Like hiskafya?
Breaking evil. You want to do something wrong and you don't do it. Shazat told him shachas eravaya de Torah mitzvahs, because that's what's dependent on the Torah mitzvahs to be revealed. Masha'enkim b'lei bittul ratzin, without the level of bittul, and yecheles lahamshach. You can't bring down that level of kedusha, because again, the only way a fire exists in the fuel is when the fuel is becoming consumed. Otherwise, it's not doing anything. Through these three things, we bring down Elokus. Even though Torah mitzvahs is only in Gashmias. How could you say you bring down godliness into Elokus? Into physical. It would make sense to say through spirituality you bring down godliness. How can it be dafka through Gashmias? He says, the pasuk says, Ani keberei shiranan. Hashem says, I am like a slingshot. What's a slingshot? The Rabbi explains. Berei shu'eres dak is a very thin piece of cedar wood. You can bend it back. How does a slingshot work? You have a little pebble, you put it on this thing that you bend back, all the way back, and then you let go, so the force makes it fly high. Then when it goes back to where it was, it elevates the thing that was on top of it. Okay? So what does it mean? Hashem says, I am like a slingshot. What do you mean I'm like a slingshot? Just like a slingshot, by bending it back, the thing flies higher. I bend myself backwards, meaning I come down into the lowest of levels. By Hashem straightening them out, the nefesh of the person becomes elevated. Level after a level, in the essence of Hashem, then the nefesh becomes bound up in the bond of life. In other words, dafke by Hashem, bending himself downwards, and then through mitzvahs you let it go, so then the neshama becomes infinitely greater than it was before. And this is answering, again, what Alter Rebbe asked at the beginning of the Maimon. What's the purpose of the neshama coming down? The neshama is on the highest of levels. Why is it coming down into the slow level? So now the Alter Rebbe is explaining, and he's leading up to this concept, that dafka through Gashmias, dafka through the neshama bending down all the way back, down, and by the way, the more you bend it down, the higher it goes.
So more sin you do is better, it will go higher.
That's what I'm working on.
Yeah, it's a good idea.
That's the level of Yaakov, not Israel.
There's both, Yaakov and Yisrael, breaking evil and then transforming evil.
In the slingshot.
Yeah. Yeah, you're doing a pretty good job, by the way. Now, so he says like this, just like there's a fire going in Kedusha, right, that has the fuel, so now you have an evil fire, Eish Zara, foreign fire. Eish Zara keneged Eish Echel, v'gam ken nislabish b'machshava diber ha'maisa asher le'lahavaya hema, which are also in thought, speech, just like you have in Kedusha, thought, speech, and action of Torah mitzvahs, like the Alter Rebbe says in Tanya. So you have thought, speech, and action of evil. That's also fire. And its level of klein, l'um is covered. Disgrace, opposite of honor. Right? Chacham will inherit covered, and the fools will elevate the disgrace. Just like in good, the nefesh through the slingshot flies very high. The greater than the level of the neshama is by itself. So the same thing is in evil. You have a slingshot going downwards. Just like you have a slingshot in Kedusha that makes the neshama fly high. So that we're learning last night in Tanya. The nefesh of the enemy, meaning the nefesh of evil, gets stuck in kafakela. Hanu clear lemakim rachik me'ed Hashem. Again, kafir kelis again, with the punishment, the neshama is thrown from one place to the next. Just like kedusha flies the neshama up, evil flies the neshama all the way down.
Like 50 and 50. 50
Yeah, general levels, but there's infinite levels.
Rabbi, didn't we say in the higher world there is no level?
There is levels. No, there are levels in the higher world. Even in infinite, there are different levels.
There is, when you are infinite, you're infinite. There's no infinite and one infinite.
Right, that's what you were saying, that, compared to infinite.
I understand. You can have infinite chesed. Yes? Is that still limited?
No.
Yeah, it's chesed, not gvura.
But you were talking about chesed, you didn't say in comparison to...
You're asking me are the levels in infinite. Somebody once asked the Rabbi if there are different levels, different tzimtzum. And the Rabbi said, yeah. But it's a much more refined level of infinite than what we normally call infinite. Proven by Torah 3,500 years ago.
But you were saying that...
In science, there is no higher than infinite.
There is, and there is infinite plus one. I don't know. I am not a mathematician. What?
But you were advocating that compared to infinity, it doesn't matter because infinite is infinite and there's nothing that can come.
Is infinite limited that it's infinite and not finite?
Say it again.
Is infinite limited that it's infinite and not finite?
Infinite is not finite.
Finite.
That means it's limited. It's limited in infinite. It's not limited in finite, correct? If it's infinite, it's not finite. That means it's limited, that it's infinite and not finite. The real infinite is a level which is above infinite and finite. If somebody says Hashem is infinite, is a wrong statement, totally incorrect. Number one, because then you're limiting Hashem that He's only infinite and not finite. Secondly, if He's infinite, how in the world can He create finite? So therefore we must say...
You just said something that category is incorrect, saying that if you're infinite, then you're limited. No, you're infinite.
Infinite is infinite finite?
No.
That's a limitation.
No, infinite by definition has no.
No.
It's infinite.
Yeah, but it's not finite. I ask you a question, you answer. Is infinite finite?
Infinite has finite infinite.
No, it doesn't have finite. Infinite is not composed of 1, 2, 3, 4. You can never reach infinite by counting.
Correct.
Because if you take away one, you have one less. That's why the universe cannot be infinite, because from here to the sun is 93 million miles away. Take away 10 miles, so you have 10 miles less. So it's not infinite. You can't compose infinite by finite.
Of course, it's very finite from here to God. Same thing to the edge of the universe.
That's finite, though.
There is finite.
Yeah.
No,
but God is infinite.
God is infinite because there is no definition of God. We cannot possibly describe it.
That's why. That's why not only is Hashem infinite, He's also finite. Now we don't get that. We don't even understand what infinite means. We understand you have a lot of things, take away one, you have less. Okay? Infinite minus one is infinite, because you can't have minus one.
I think what he was trying to say was true infinity means, like you're saying, it has to have both.
No.
Otherwise you can't call it infinite.
That's true infinity, but when we speak the concept of infinity, infinity is limited, that it's not, is spiritual limited, it's not physical.
A lot of 1 make it infinite.
No, it can't. Mathematically, that's incorrect. Take away one. You have 1, yeah? Take away one. Is it less? Then it can be infinite.
Right. You were saying that actually because...
What I'm saying is, even infinite itself, as infinite as it is is finite, that's limited. It's limited in the fact that it's not finite. Real infinite is not infinite. Real infinite is above finite and infinite. And don't try to understand it because we can't. We don't even understand infinite. Can you picture what existed before the world was created? You know what we pictured in our brains? It's a big empty world. But that's also creation. That's also created. We cannot understand what it means before creation. We can't. Our minds just don't get. We're limited brains. What?
Infinity is a car.
Yeah.
Oh, like I say, like the example, like the ark in the Kodesh HaKadoshim.
That is the ultimate level of above time and place. Because you can have, like you're right, in the art in the Beis HaMikdash, right? So the room was 20 amas. The ark took up 2.5. Yes? From one end of the ark to the room is 10. From the other end of the ark to the room is 10. The ark took up 2.5. And yet the room was 20.
That's Malcolm and Zman.
Malcolm and Zman interconnected. This is Malcolm, not Zman. It's place. But what was unique about the Kodesh HaKadoshim? That there was a unity between place and higher than place simultaneously. That was the uniqueness of the Kodesh HaKadoshim. And it's a pasuk, 3 words in Tillim. Okay? In Kuv Gimel, whatever parak it is over there. It says, Va'atahu, you are God, Ushneisecha lo yutamu. Your years never end. Now, Shneisecha is years, is limitation of time. Never ending is infinite. We're not saying, David HaMelech is not saying that's the source of the whole unity of infinite and finite. There's that pasuk in Tehillim. Ushneisecha, your years, lo yutamu, never end. Which means it's the unity of time and above time simultaneously. That's the Atahu, that's the essence of Hashem. Because it's the essence, it's not only above time, not only is it above time, it's above time and time simultaneously. And that's why he's God and we're not. Now, because of our neshama, which is a chelak alakam mimal, yeah, it's a part of Hashem. Therefore, through tshuva, we reach that level. That's how we learn. How could you undo the past? The past was done already. The answer is, you reach above past, above time. But you're doing it in time. Tshuva is in time. Yet through tshuva, you reach a level above time. In time, you're reaching above time. That's why by a goy, there's a Rogachev, the Rebbe brings on the Rogachev, that says, by a goy, tshuva is only for the future, not for the past. Only a yid can undo the past. A goy cannot fix the past. They can make up their mind from here on. Because in order to undo past, you need a neshama which is above time and place together. That we have. That's why That's why he says in order to have the fuel, Torah, Veda, Gemir, Chassadim, you need to have the level of bittul which only a yid has. Therefore, if a guy will learn Torah and put on tefillin and do mitzvahs, they're not going to be the keli, the fuel, because it's not a consuming fire. Consuming fire of elokus means I need bittul. It consumes the person, meaning the person becomes batul to Hashem. By a goy is not shaykh that, only by the 7 mitzvahs, which is again a different concept completely.
That's a function of the body or neshama?
But the function of body and neshama together. That's why the neshama has to come down into the body. Because out of the body it's only ruchnius. In the body itself is only gashmius. you put Ruchnis and Gashmis together, then you have this combination above everything. That's why, like we learned, Reifei Chobasi, you say in Ashiyata, Reifei Chobasi Mafli Lases, heals all flesh and does wonders. What's the wonders Hashem got? Pushing the simple meaning of the davening. He does wonders that he connects the neshama in the body. What's the uniqueness of connecting the neshama in the body? The uniqueness of connecting the neshama in the body, the ability to combine two total opposites. Fire and water, scientifically, will never be able to coexist because they're opposites. Gashmis and Ruchnius is even more opposite than fire and water because they're both limited creation, they're both physical. And yet they're opposites physical, and yet they can never be combined. Spiritual and physical are more opposites than fire and water, so there's no way physical and spiritual could be coexisting. Therefore, science, and therefore what? Let's go back. What is Hashem creating life? The combination of physical and spiritual together. Meaning, why can Hashem do that? Why? Because he could. But because Hashem is not physical, he's not spiritual, he's above both. And if he's above both, he can combine both together, like Nes and Teva, miracle in nature. Yeah? Science will never be able to do that. What they could do is, they could take a cell, which is alive, and extend it. But they can never create life. They can clone. Because what cloning is, you're taking something that has life already, in a physical setting, and you're expanding it, whatever. But to create life, to put Ruchnis and Gashmis coexisting is impossible for any human being to ever do. A Jew could do it, by the way. When we do Torah mitzvahs, we bring spirituality into the physical. Why can we do it? Thank you, Matan Torah. Because we have a neshama in the body, and this neshama in the body that Hashem connected, and Matan Torah gave us the ability to do Ruchnis and Gashmis together. But Goyim can't do that.
Do they know that?
Tell them.
Rabbi, you probably object
Because they said that.
I'm not interested in, I have no meaning or purpose in telling them.
No, in Italy they are very advanced.
Why are we chosen people? Chosen for what? To suffer? That's what some people say. We're chosen because only we can bring Kedusha into the world. Sheva Mitzvahs B'nai Nerech does not bring holiness into the world. It civilizes the world. That's all it does. It civilizes the world. That's where the 7 mitzvahs. No cruelty to animal, stealing, but all that. That's civilizing the world. But Kedusha, they can't bring down. They can't, because why? Because to bring down Kedusha in the world, meaning combining Ruchnius and Gashmius, and only a Jew with a neshama has that ability to do it. People can't do it.
Rabbi, when they ask these AI robots, what's the difference between being, they admit that we don't have a soul. I know you would object to that. You would want to qualify that.
They don't have a soul, and not only that, any intellect they have was given to them, was programmed in them. They can't take the seichel further. They only take what they're given.
They could, I mean, you give it the formula, and then...
So then that, you're giving them that information.
They cannot have any emotion.
They can't have any emotion, they can't have a choice. There's no free choice. The only reason a Jew has free choice is because the Jew is rooted in Hashem, who is the only one that can have free choice.
Are you suggesting that going on?
I'm not suggesting nothing. I'm saying what Chassidus says. I don't suggest anything.
Okay, question. You answered that before.
Okay. I'm not smart enough to make up anything about it.
Now, off the camera.